Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me today on another video. And today is going to be a good video because I'm doing the smartphone awards of this year. So I think that this is better summed up as a review of all the smartphones of this year and not just a award kind of video. These are the phones that I bought brand new this year. I had the key one as well, but I returned it. However, it is a contender for this award. Without any further delays, let's get right into the awards. And let's kick things off with the most innovative smartphone of this year. So I think this award is a very clear choice. The second I thought of this category, I immediately knew which phone was going to win, and that is the Samsung Galaxy S8. Because this phone came out early this year in April, I believe, and it has the best looking screen, it has the best overall design, and overall, the phone is definitely futuristic. Anybody who sees this phone will consider it to be futuristic and something different. The curved edges on both sides make the phone look really good, and the display is just excellent, and I think Samsung hit it out of the park with the S8, and they haven't done something like this in a very long time. So, very happy with the S8, and for me, that is definitely the most innovative smartphone of the year. Moving on, and keeping in the line of innovation, let's look at the least innovative smartphone of this year, and I think the answer is obvious, and it goes out to Apple for the iPhone 8 Plus. So, the 8 Plus was the least innovative phone. The 8 and 8 Plus share this award because they literally had to, I think that they had a board meeting, sat for 15 minutes and said, you know what, let's just make the glass back metal, add wireless charging, and we're done. That's all that's there. All the other development went to the iPhone 10, and they just borrowed the processor and everything else from the iPhone 10. But the design, everything is the same thing as the iPhone 7 Plus. So definitely least innovative phone of the year goes to the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. Moving on, this is a very interesting award, and it is the best comeback. So this could be a phone that didn't do good last year, or a phone that hasn't ever done well and is like doing very well this year. However, I think that this year we have to give it hands down to the Galaxy Note 8 because as everybody knows, in 2016, the Galaxy Note line had a horrible problem with those batteries blowing up and the phones catching fire. It went to the level where every single airline banned the phones on those flights, and it just caused a lot of image issues for Samsung. And I think that Samsung did an excellent job working out all the issues. They made the Note 8 so much better than the Note 7, and the Note 7 on its own was an excellent phone. So very happy with Samsung. I think that this phone definitely wins comeback of the year. So let's move on and let's move into money. So what is the most value for money phone? And I think this is obvious as well. Obviously, the OnePlus 5 5T and 5 win this award. So we're going to consider both for this award because the thing is that OnePlus refreshes their phone so quickly in 6 months that it's almost annoying to keep up. But I think that the OnePlus 5 and 5T are definitely the best value for money, best overall package smartphones considering the price. Smartphones are now creeping up to about $1,000, the flagship phones, and OnePlus is still sitting at half the price at about $500. So I think that OnePlus is doing an excellent job at what they're doing, and there are some things I don't like about OnePlus. However, for the point of this video, it's definitely doing something right, and it is definitely the most value-friendly phone. Keeping in tune with money, let's move on to the most overpriced phone. And now this was a topic that most people already have an answer for, and everybody says iPhone 10. However, in my head, the iPhone 10 wasn't the clear contender here. I had to go back and forth between two devices, and this award, I think, in my very fair opinion, goes to the Google Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL. Now, you might be wondering, why am I criticizing a phone that's only $800 something? The Pixel 2 is $700. The XL goes into the $800 range. But why am I criticizing a $700-800 phone when Apple has a $1,000 smartphone? Now, let me get into the specific details of this. The Pixel 2 has a lot of issues. It's not the best phone. It has the best cameras for sure, but it's not the best overall package. Not to mention that the cost cutting is very apparent to me in a lot of areas, especially when it comes to just the accessories that Google gives you. For a $800 phone, It's ridiculous that Google doesn't provide some kind of earphones or earbuds in the box, especially considering that they killed the 3.5mm headphone jack that they kind of made fun of Apple for doing last year. So that's something that I'm kind of annoyed by, that Google is kind of cutting corners, and they no longer have the ability to cut corners because they're charging you flagship level prices. If this phone was $500 and competed dead against the OnePlus 5T, no question that this would be an excellent phone. But because of the way it's priced and it's placed in the market against the Galaxy S8 and other flagship Android phones and Apple phones, I don't think that this phone stands a chance when it comes to value. And the iPhone X, despite being $1,000, what it does give you is excellent display, excellent speakers, overall a very high build quality, and that's something else I forgot to mention about the Pixel 2. Build quality left a lot to be desired. In fact, I didn't like the build quality at all. I, in fact, had to put a skin on it because I didn't like the way the phone felt. It feels, to be very frank with you, kind of subpar. It feels like they didn't think the materials and the feeling of the device through. A little bit is the glass portion, a little bit is that weird plastic coating on the metal. Not good. They should have either made it all glass, all metal, all something. It's a weird mishmash of design elements that I don't like, and I had the same issue with the Pixel 1 as well. So I know this rant has kind of gone on. The Pixel 2 is a good phone, but definitely I think the most overpriced phone of this year is the Google Pixel. Number 6, this is an interesting award because I like to call this the Old Reliable. The Old Reliable award of this year goes to none other than the iPhone 8 Plus. The iPhone 8 Plus for me this year has been the least troublesome phone. I had no issues setting it up, no issues using it. My entire ownership experience of this phone has been pain-free. The phone is boring, it's not anything to get excited about, but everything works. The camera is excellent, the dual speakers make everything sound good, the display, despite being LCD, very high quality, very good. And I think that this phone is my old reliable. The battery especially lasts me forever, and I think that if I were forced to just choose one reliable old phone, 8 Plus all the way. Number 7, the biggest disappointment of this year. Now, continuing on my Google rant, you guys know already, I think that the Google Pixel is the most disappointing phone of this year, and let me tell you why. I understand that the cameras are excellent. I understand that the software experience of this phone is unmatched to almost any other phone out there. But I feel as hardware and software combined, this phone is a very weak package. It is underwhelming compared to just the OnePlus 5T, which has a lot better integration of software and hardware. And in my opinion, is something that I'd rather go for over the Google Pixel because it's just so much better. I just feel like it's a lot better thought through than the Pixel was. One of the key issues for my disappointment with the Google Pixel has to be the build quality. I'm okay with phones being a little bit pricey or being premiumly priced. I'm okay with that, and I understand the concept behind that. What I don't understand is if you're going to price premium, you have to be premium. You have to give the the entire experience of the device a very high edge. The Pixel 2 had those huge display issues when it came out. They had supply issues. There was even a report of an individual getting a Pixel 2 without any software on it. There was another report of an individual getting Pixel 2 that was actually marked as not sellable. So it was a phone that hadn't passed inspection. However, they still shipped it out to him. So I think that on the whole, the Google Pixel 2 has been a pretty big disappointment. It's not a bad phone, but it is a disappointment for me. So I keep iterating it's not a bad phone because I know that the comment warriors are going to come right after me saying that the Google Pixel is the best phone ever. And you know what? It may be the best phone for you, but I think that when you're paying $800 you deserve a lot better than what you get with a Pixel right now. So moving on, this next award is the biggest surprise of the year. So which phone was I not expecting to be as good, however turned out to be excellent? And I think that this year, that award also goes back to the Samsung Galaxy S8. Not many of you know, but I didn't like Samsung at all. I, in fact, was very against Samsung because of the way they handled their hardware, the way they treated customers, and just the way that the company was running. I wasn't a big fan of them. and I was kind of annoyed how much they used to copy Apple. Now, it's always been a copy game between Apple, Samsung, and all these people, but it always felt like Samsung was being a lot more blatant with the way they were copying things, and I didn't like that as someone who was a very diehard Apple fan. However, the S8 completely did a 360 on me, and I am now in love with not only the brand but this phone. This phone impressed me so much that I'm still to this day, about 8 months after buying this phone, not 8 months, about 7 months after purchasing this phone, I still think that this is the most unique and coolest looking phone that I have bought this year, and that's a pretty big feat considering all the awesome phones that came out towards the end of this year. So props to Samsung for that, and definitely the biggest surprise for me this year. So the next award is the Out-of-the-Box Thinking Award. The Out-of-the-Box Thinking Award this year goes to the BlackBerry Key 1. The Key 1 was the most unique phone this year, with all the phones focusing on making the entire screens be displays and making them, making the footprint smaller, the display bigger. BlackBerry just went a complete opposite direction, and they made a phone that was targeted towards business users, and they created a phone with a keypad, a physical keypad, which they've done before, but this year their implementation and their execution was so much better, and it was actually a smartphone that you could use, and it wasn't some sort of compromise that you made. It had full Android, it had an SD card slot, and it was very, very good, and overall a very excellent phone that BlackBerry created this year. There were some issues with it that I mentioned in videos before. However, I think that overall the phone, pretty good, and definitely the best phone that was the most out of the box. So let's move on. Number 10. This is the area that I think is most important for me, and that has to be the most room for improvement. So which phone do I think has the biggest room for improvement next year? So when the new model comes out, which phone do I think is going to need to take a big step in order to stay up with everybody? And I think that has to be the Google Pixel. So the Pixel 2 has a lot of improving to do. The cameras, they nailed, no complaints about that. What they need to focus on is hardware. They need to focus on build quality, and they need to focus on their displays. Now, they're charging flagship prices, so that means they need to provide what the other flagships are doing. Not that difficult. They just need to plan things out and execute them properly the way Samsung and Apple does. Google, unfortunately, still doesn't produce their own hardware. They pawn them off to HTC and LG as of now. Who knows what will be next year, but hopefully, if they do this, they create a better kind of structure for everybody to work with to make sure that the devices are a lot better. An honorable mention here has to be the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. So both of these phones are kind of boring right now. They're the same tired design that it's been for 4 years. The phone works just fine. There's no issues with it per se. It's just boring, and honestly, the design needs to be completely revamped. And hopefully, there are rumors that maybe everything will move into a iPhone 10 style design with the notch display, with a full edge display. We'll see, but I'm not sure what it's going to shape up to be like. But there's definitely a lot of room for improvement with the iPhone 8 Plus as well. So here comes the most interesting award of this year, and that is the Scandal of the Year. So every year for the past however many years I can remember, there's always one big scandal in the tech world, or one big issue, one big thing that gets blown out of proportion and everybody loses their minds. And this year, the award for that goes to Apple. Apple is usually always somehow in the wrong way. Somehow they always end up being in an issue. And this year, it was their iPhone, the slowing down of iPhones because of their old batteries. People lost their minds. Until date, people are losing their minds. So Apple has apologized publicly, which I don't think they've ever done. Apple has offered to give you very inexpensive battery replacements for out-of-warranty phones and free replacements for under-warranty phones. And they've also gone to the extent of, just trying to make the situation better and trying to explain why they're doing things. But that ship has sailed long, long ago. People are angry that Apple has been lying to them. They haven't properly disclosed this stuff. And Apple is, honestly, I feel like Apple is both in the right and wrong here. What they were doing is perfectly understandable and reasonable. Their execution and secrecy, not so much. I don't know what they expected. I'm fairly certain that they knew that people would at some point realize that some phones are not performing as they should be, and they'll start looking into things. So Apple should have, handled this a lot better, but I think that people have blown the issue way out of proportion. There's weird, frivolous lawsuits for $999 billion that are, it's just ridiculous in my opinion. People are just crazy, and I don't know what to say. However, I'd like to mention that Apple, while I was planning this video, the actual winner for this award was going to be Google. So because Apple just screwed this up the last 2 weeks, Google was the one that was going to take away this award. And so it's going to be the honorable mention for Scandal of the Year. So Google Pixel and Pixel 2 Google Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL were very problematic phones this year. There were a lot of quality control issues, display issues, and overall just a huge problem surrounding everything with the launch. There wasn't enough stock available, a lot of issues going on, and Google, let's just say they didn't handle it properly either. So Google was going to get the biggest scandal of the year. However, Apple came in right towards the end and just swept that award right away from Google. So finally, the last two awards, the two awards you guys have been waiting for, and that is what the best smartphone is. So I was thinking about just making it one best smartphone overall. However, it kind of struck me that that wouldn't make sense for my channel because I don't use just one phone. I use two phones. I use one iOS and one Android device at all times. So I like to have both platforms with me, and that kind of allows me a lot of flexibility that doesn't allow a lot of other people. So I will always have an iOS device and always have an Android device with me. And the Android device is usually whatever I'm testing. And the iOS device, since there's only a few out every year, it's the one I like the most. So for this year, the Autotechnica Smartphone of the Year Award, iOS, goes to the iPhone 10. And I think this was very clearly seen that the iPhone 10 is just a very impressive phone. A lot of shortcomings, and it could be a little bit better, but it's a good phone. And I think that I'm going to be carrying this phone for pretty much the rest of the next year until the new iPhone comes out. So very interesting phone. Honorable mention, obviously the A+. I love Touch ID. I love how just plain and simple that phone is. It works so well, and there's no learning curve to it. So it is a boring phone, but an excellent phone. Let's move on to the last and final award, the Autotechnica Smartphone of the Year Award, Android. So this was a tough one. I went back and forth between all the devices, and I think that I finally kind of settled that the award this year I wanted to give out, I was kind of considering between what people like the most and what I like the most. And what I've kind of seen to be common around the field of Android right now is that if you're looking for an expensive side of flagship phones, the Note 8 always wins that. Almost every tech reviewer is claiming that the Note 8 is the best phone of the year, and it should be. It's a very good phone. And if anybody's looking on the budget side, the OnePlus 5T seems to be the favorite, and people keep claiming that at half the price, OnePlus does a lot more than you can imagine, and I agree with them. However, both of these phones, while I was using them, it just didn't sell me on them so hard. So the phone for me, the Android phone of the year, is, no surprises, the Galaxy S8. So I've told you guys multiple times how much I love this phone, and I think this has to be one of the best design phones and one of the best looking and the best user experience delivering phone this year, because the curved edges, the beautiful screen, the AMOLED display, everything just works the way you want it to. And I like the S8, the normal version, a lot better than the S8 Plus because the size is just so much more comfortable. You can easily grip it in one hand. You can easily reach the fingerprint scanner without smudging up the camera. And obviously, I think that this phone just takes the cake when it comes to Android. Now, a close runner-up, a close honorable mention for me, obviously, is the Galaxy Note 8. Very similar, but one thing I'm not a big fan about this phone is the way it's designed. It's a lot more industrial looking than the S8. It looks to be, honestly, I'm telling you, this phone doesn't, the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of this phone right now is because the design looks simple in front of the S8. The S8 is so much more dramatic with those curves and the complete just way it forms off, the steep curves on the display and everything. The Note 8 is clearly a phone that was designed to be function over form, whereas S8 is more form over function. They kind of dedicated beauty to be the first thing, and then functionality, they made it work somehow. Note 8 is the other way. Functionality first, and then they kind of shaped the beauty in the device around it. So I think both phones very good, but for me, it's going to be the Galaxy S8. So that's a wrap for this video, guys. It was a very good year for smartphones, and I will be making another video where I compare all the phones that I've used this year and tell you guys in a simple kind of quick fashion what I like, what I hate about the devices, and just move on. This was kind of a little bit of a longer video that I kind of elongated, describing each and everything about these phones that I didn't like or why it deserved an award if it did. So the next video is going to be a little bit quicker and a lot more enjoyable, so definitely stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to be up to date with those upload notifications. Be sure to check me out on social media as well. I'll post all the behind the scenes stuff as well as when these videos go live and just regular information about these devices while I'm reviewing them, so definitely check those out. All the links down in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.